Hello, my name is Muhammad Amir Fitri bin Jamaluddin. So here I'm gonna present project 2 of HSE class. I'm gonna present about the introduction, problem statement, objective, and scope. Okay, first start is introduction. So the building that I picked is Laman Hikmah Library, UTEM. So the library, as for the history of this building, the library opened on April 2011 and provide a reference facility for students from both of the faculty, FKM and FTK, with an area of 2,229 square meter and can accommodate approximately 400 users. Also, the library has a total collection of more than 115,000 titles, including 13 subscribed database titles, which include engineering materials, electrical, electronics, mechanical, manufacturing, and information and communication. In addition, there were also a collection of scientific fields such as physics, chemistry, mathematics, as well as general reading. Lastly, the building itself consists of 4 stories and has a housekeeping facility, fire security, safety equipment on each of its floor. So the building has a scheduled waste of disposal system. So next is problem statement. So the first one is the entire preparation of the current waste disposal building and the building of the fire system is in dysfunctional sequence. Next is the building does not have a waste disposal and waste disposal layout, but instead a planning system only. Next is for the employee and of the building and the visitor, the planning of the fire safety of the building may be weird and difficult to comprehend. Next is the objective. The main aim of this project is for improving the housekeeping and scheduled waste disposal problem and the fire safety problem inside the Lama Hikmah Library to ensure that all safe and clean for students, staff and workers in the library. Hence, the details are to identify the problem of the building layout. Number 2 is to develop a solution to all of the problem state inside the building. And lastly, starting to plan a concept and suggesting how to solve the process issue and then do some cost estimation. Next is scope. The housekeeping and scheduled waste disposal of the fire safety system is one of the arrangements provided or included in the building. As for the housekeeping and scheduled waste disposal in any waste that process hazardous characteristic and have a potential adversely effect to the public health and environment. Then the fire safety system is a system that need to be designed to offer an applicable level of fire safety and minimize the risk from heat and smoke. So the way to improve it is measure the waste from the building. It is easier to manage and track your improvement on something that is measured. Then reduce the waste, and lastly is recycle. This is to find out what option are available locally in business of recycling. So collection service is a good idea to find out how levy fees will be managed by your waste service provider. Then separating waste. Is it important to ensure that the waste is correctly separated for recycling? So as for the fire safety system, is control smoking materials and open flame. Next is store flammable and combustible liquid safely. Use electrical equipment correctly. Perform general housekeeping tasks on a regular basis. And then purchase a fire safe furnishing, decoration and interior finish. Next, in this chapter also cover the design, installation and maintenance of the housekeeping and schedule waste disposal and the fire system. That's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you for Amir for the introduction until scope. My name is Ahmad Faizwan bin Azhar. My metric number is B0717109112. Now I will talk about the methodology, which is in general. This chapter will explain in detail the flow of this project from start to the end. So firstly, I will talk about flow chart. So basically we start and then we move to initial investigation of the problem. So we investigate the problem within the building, which is Lama Hikmah, and then we identify and review all the possible problem in the building. So as for here, we identify the possible problem, which is in fire safety and schedule waste disposal. And then move on to solving the fire safety, housekeeping, and schedule waste disposal. So if we manage to solve, then we proceed to the change in the problem equipment and then make improvement and end. So if we fail to solve the problem, so we return to review the problem again. Then move on to fire safety of the building. Okay, the fire safety is set of practice intended to reduce the destruction caused by fire. Its measures include those that are intended to prevent ignition of an uncontrolled fire and those that are used to limit the development and effects of fire after it starts. So here there is a fire extinguisher. So fire extinguisher is an active fire protection device used to extinguish or control small fire, often in emergency situations. So basically, fire extinguisher is an important thing lah in building, because basically people know how to use it and know how to handle it. So basically fire extinguisher is a important thing to have in a building. So fire extinguisher manufactured with non-cylindrical pressure vessel also exist but are less common. There are two types of fire extinguisher, which is stored pressure and cartridge operate. So here are the figure 1, which shows the stored pressure fire extinguisher. Then we move on to a smoke detector, which is a smoke detector is a device that sends smoke, typically as an indicator of fire. So when in a building there is a smoke, when the smoke goes to the smoke detector, it will trigger the alarm and which will indicate of fire. So basically smoke detector will trigger the alarm when there is smoke. So as you can see from this figure 2, this is an optical smoke detector, so which is where the cover is moved. So you can see inside there is a optical chamber. So 2 is a cover for this thing inside, and then 3 case molding, the big one, and for the transducer, the reflection of the ray, infrared light. So number 5, the infrared light. So Then we move on to heat detector. Heat detector, smoke detector is same, but the mechanism of triggering is different, which is for smoke is smoke, and for heat is with thermal energy, which is of a fire increase the temperature of heat sensitivity element. Then we move on to sprinkler head. This sprinkler head, which is in a sprinkler system in a building. So fire or sprinkler head, fire sprinkler or sprinkler head is the component of a fire sprinkler system that discharge water when the effect of fire have been detected, such as when a predetermined temperature has been exceeded. So actually from this figure, you can see here the sprinkler head, and there is bulb, which is indicate, which is here the bulb will explode when the temperature for the bulb is reached. So here we can see the temperature for each bulb, each color. So as for the blue, it is 141 degrees Celsius. Or else when it not reach 141, it will not burst, it will not explode. So the water still intact in the piping system of sprinkler. So the table 1 shows how the sprinkler bulb temperature for each color. So maximum ceiling temperature is 100 Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius. It is ordinary. So the color code for it is uncolor or black. So liquid alcohol in the glass bulb is orange, which is indicated for 57 degrees Celsius, or red for 68. So and then for the yellow, which is the intermediate, it shows for 79 degrees Celsius, and green for 93 degrees Celsius. So we move on to the temperature classification height with color, blue color for glass bulb, extra height with purple color, very extra height black, ultra height, and so on, which is indicate black. Black is the highest temperature can indicate. Then we move on to hose reel. Hose reel is basically important in a building because it can use to extinguish fire, like fire extinguisher, but it's basically use water inside the building. So as for the fire rated door, this is a door with a fire resistant rating used as part of passive fire protection system to reduce the spread of fire and smoke within the separate compartment of a structure. So when there is this door, so when one room which is in fire, so the door can block the fire for an 1 hour and below. Then we move on to housekeeping and schedule waste disposal. Okay, as for the housekeeping, it can help control or eliminate workplace hazard, which is a poor housekeeping practice frequently contribute to incident. Such as when there is rubbish or anything else, it can also it can also lead to hazard. So if the site of the debris, clothes and spill is accepted as normal, then other more serious hazard may be taken for granted. And as for the scheduled waste, it's any waste that possess hazardous characteristics and have the potential to adversely affect to the public health and environment. Then we move on to the next presenter, which is Aizuddin. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. So in this video, I will be presenting market survey for our second project. So the equipment that we choose are based on quality of the gear, quality of the equipment, and some are expensive than the current one. Some are much cheaper than the current one. So the first one is fire safety of the building. Fire safety of the building divided into two. The first one is active fire prevention system, and the second one is passive fire prevention system. So the first is the fire extinguisher. So the current one has it's cost 100 ringgit per unit, but the new one costs 150 ringgit per unit. Uh, and the second one is smoke and heat detector. So the first one costs 95 ringgit per unit, while the new one is much cheaper, which costs 48 ringgit per unit. The second one is the sprinkler system. Uh, the first one is 3 ringgit and 77 cents per head, and the new one that we want to replace is 24 ringgit 60 cent per head. And the last one on active fire prevention system is the hose reel. The current one is 266 ringgit per unit, and the new one is the 275 ringgit per unit. Next is the passive fire prevention system. So this is the fire rated door. The current one costs about 400 ringgit, and the new one is cost 852 ringgit. And then the next one is housekeeping and schedule waste disposal. So the first equipment is the broom. The current one is cost 11 ringgit 80 cents, and the new one costs 5 ringgit 80 cents. The next one is floor mop. Uh, the first one costs 8 ringgit and 40 cents. Sorry, and the new one costs 11 ringgit and 80 cents. And the last one is the garbage bin. The current one costs 884 ringgit, and the new one costs 1,365 ringgit. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Um, Good day. My name is Dylan, and I will be presenting um, on the project management. So here we have the Gantt chart for the project. So for the first week, we will be doing the task which is analyzing the fire safety in the building and also the housekeeping and waste disposal schedule. Also on week 1 until week 2, the next task will be conceptualization and plan for the upgrade of the fire safety in the buildings and also the schedule for the housekeeping and waste disposal. Next is the approval by the management. So for this, we will have to wait for the approval from the management to approve the upgrades or improvements that we're about to do, which is also in week 2. And then next is after getting the approval from the management, next we will be conducting uh, the task, which is the designing a new housekeeping system and waste disposal schedule, which is also from week 2 until week 3. So the schedule will be improved by changing improving the regular disposing of the waste. For example, in 1 week, we will do it for um, 2 to 3 days. To, and then next, for the housekeeping, we will be doing it, improving it by doing housekeeping every single day after we finished work in the building. And then next is improving the fire safety in the building, which falls on week 3 until week 5. So for the fire safety system in the building, we'll be improving the smoke detectors, the quantity of fire hydrants, and um, qua- uh, quantity of fire extinguisher, and improving the location for each and every uh, smoke and heat detector. So from after finishing installing all the new fire safety system, also on week 5 we will be testing the new fire system by conducting an experiment or testing the sensors by um, lighting a small fire or releasing a small smoke inside the building to uh, determine whether the sensors or everything else that has been improved works properly. Next is the safety inspection for the improvement of the building, so which falls on week 6 until week 7. Um, for this task, the safety inspector or safety officer inside the building will be conducting it. He, he or she will be inspecting all of the improvements for the fire safety, the checking on the sensors, whether it follows the safety procedure that each company has to follow, not which is not only for the fire sensor but for all the improvements that we have done. And they will be checking on the new schedule for the housekeeping and waste disposal schedule. And finally will be the the feedback for all the improvements. The feedback will be we will get it from all the occupants inside the building. We will conduct a survey to um, to collect all the data of opinions of all the occupants inside the building, whether the improvement is acceptable or not acceptable. The feedback will take at least 1 week, which is on week 7. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Then we move on to capital investment for the Lama Hikmah Library Workplace. So as what Muhammad Azuddin have explained, so there here we use only the the price of the thing that we want to change. So here there is a first equipment is a Flamat 9 kg ABC dry powder fire extinguisher. So we want to change about 10 unit, which is for the year of life is 10 years. So 1 unit costs 150 ringgit. So the total investment for 1 year is 1,500 ringgit for 10 unit. And then we move on to OEM for 33 megahertz photoelectronic smoke and heat detector, which is we also want to change 10 unit. For year of life it costs 8 years. So 1 unit costs for 48 ringgit, which is the total investment for 1 year is 480 ringgit. Then we move on to Viking upright sprinkler head. So we want to change the sprinkler head in the sprinkler system. So there is many sprinkler head, so we want to change about 50 units. So the year of life is around 15 years. So every unit for sprinkler head is cost 24 ringgit 60 cent, which is the total investment for 1 year is 1,230 ringgit. And then we'll move on to the unique fire hose reel. So which is the unit is the brand name. We are CWABS breast nozzle. So we want to change for 5 unit in the Ramakma. So the year of life for this fire hose reel is 5 years. And the unit cost for 1 unit is 275 ringgit, which is the total investment for 1 year is 1,375 ringgit. And then we move on to the fire rated door for 1 hour single lift fire rated door. So we want to change only 1 unit, so which cost 852 ringgit. And the last lifespan of the door, which is around 8 years. And then we move on to the housekeeping and waste schedule equipment. So first we want to change the broom, which is around 10 unit. So the broom only can stand about 1 year if and more if it can be maintained well, but usually 1 year it will be changed. So the cost for 1 unit of broom is 5 ringgit 80 cents, so which costs 58 ringgit for total investment of 1 year. And then we'll move on to microfiber strip mop. It is also 10 unit, which costs 11 ringgit 80 cents and total investment for 180 ringgit. And then lastly for the waste disposal, which is the mobile garbage bin, 1,100 liter for 2 units. So this garbage bin usually stand for 5 years, and 1 unit for this is 1,365 ringgit, which is cost total year for 1 year 2,730 ringgit for 2 garbage bin. So total investment for 1 year cost 8,343 ringgit. And then as for the ROI, the return of investment, initial value investment, which is only 10,000 ringgit, minus by the total cost of this investment 8,343 ringgit, over by 10,000, the investment initial value times by 100, which is cost 16.57%. And the payback period, which is initial investment divided by total cost, equals by 1.2 years. So for me, then we move on to Azura presentation.
Assalamualaikum and very good morning. My name is Azura Liana with metric number B0717109979. Today I will present about benefits of my project. Benefits of my project is effective housekeeping can help control or eliminate workplace hazard. Poor housekeeping practice frequently contribute to incidents. If the sight of paper, debris, clutter and spills is accepted as normal, then other more serious hazards may be taken for granted. Housekeeping and waste disposal is not just cleanliness. It includes keeping work areas neat and orderly, maintaining halls and floors free of slip and trip hazards, and removing of waste materials, example paper, cardboard and other fire hazard from the work areas. It also requires paying attention to important details such as the layout of the whole workplace and good maintenance. Good housekeeping is also a basic part of incident and fire prevention. Effective housekeeping is ongoing operation. It is not a one-time or hit and miss clean up done occasionally. Effective housekeeping results in reduced handling to ease the flow of materials, fewer tripping and slipping incidents in clutter-free or spill-free work areas. Okay, next, the fire safety in building is also an important aspect because by planning ahead, our team is better equipped to respond to an emergency effectively. For example, if there is a fire escape plan, the occupants know exactly how everyone in the office can get out of the office in a fire. Everyone in the office will know how to keep each other safe. They will also know where to look for emergency equipment like a fire extinguisher or first aid kit. A fire prevention plan also gives the opportunity to prepare the workplace for a potential emergency. Next, I will talk about the conclusion. In conclusion, the regular collection, grading and sorting of scrap contribute to good housekeeping practice. It also makes it possible to separate materials that can be recycled from those going to waste disposal facilities. Allowing material to build up on the floor wastes time and energy since additional time is required for cleaning it up. Fire represents a severe hazard in both developing and developed countries and poses significant threat of life. Current fire protection measures lead to an unquantified level of fire safety in buildings. Implementing key measures that include improving fire protection features in buildings, proper regulation and enforcement of building code provision, enhancing public awareness. Major research and training needs required to improve fire safety in building. Other than that, developing cost-effective fire separation system, rational fire design. Okay, that's all for my presentation today. Thank you.